Maddie here. Thank you for joining me again for another rant about another book. I so appreciate you coming back. Please like, comment, and subscribe. All of those things are super duper helpful. If you're interested in somebody that just rants and rambles about books and sometimes topics that go along with them. This week, we're talking about A Little Something Different by Sandy Hall. I bought this book when I was in Paris. I'm not sure if I got it from Shakespeare & Co., which is an awesome bookstore, or if I just got it from one of the kind of like local bookstores. They had their own version of like half price. I don't remember what it was called, but they'd have like English sections that I would get books from. But this book, or maybe I got it in England. No, Shakespeare & Co. Hey, look, right there on the inside. I got it from Shakespeare & Co., which is a bookstore just right across the Seine from Notre Dame. You can see it from Notre Dame and, vice versa. It's not like, oh, it's like way over yonder. It's like, no, they're like right next to each other. Just the Seine is in between the two. Because if you didn't know, Notre Dame is on an island. I didn't know it was on an island until I went, even though I love Paris. How did I not know that? Anyways, so A Little Something Different follows a story of two individuals named Leah and Gabe. This book, well, first, I read it in an entire afternoon. I got sick, I think, or maybe my mom got sick. I read it when my mom was in Paris, and I'm pretty sure she was sick or I was sick or something like that. And I read all of it in one day, which was super easy to do for a myriad of reasons. And now I know I'm a fast reader and I read lots. So when I say I read a book in a day or like one sitting, you might look at that and be like, okay, yeah, but you're not the norm. You're the like weird one. But I want to say that oftentimes when I read things in one sitting or like in one day, they're usually typically pretty easy reads. I don't read like super heavy, dense stuff in one sitting or in one day. The kind of like closest I've gotten, it wasn't dense, it was just kind of heavy, was I read The Fault in Our Stars in one sitting. And that's because we were about to go see the movie like that night and I wanted to read the book first. And so I wept through the book and then wept through the movie and it was fine. It has an awesome soundtrack, though. My voice sounds weird. I don't know why. It's fine. A Little Something Different follows the story of Leah and Gabe. What is so interesting about this book is it is told from every single person, animal, inanimate object's perspective, except for Leah and Gabe's. Now, what does that even mean? So, it's told from like their professors. So they meet in like a class. So it's like their professor's perspective, which is like really cute because she'll like talk to her partner about them. It's told from like classmates' perspectives. It's told from the kind of funny, weird ones it tells it from like a campus squirrel's perspective. And the funniest perspective that it actually does a handful of times is a park bench's perspective, which sounds so silly. But it's a way to get into these one-on-one conversations without telling it from Leah and Gabe's perspective. So it's how they meet and how their story progresses all the way up to them getting together. Yeah, it is like the bus driver's perspective. It's so cute and it's so much fun. And if I had to put like perfect example of a light, fun read, this would be that book. That's why I read it in one day. What goes on in the book is it's a cool kind of organic development of a relationship. There's not these crazy conflicts. There's not like these just really absurd things that happen. It's just the progression of strangers to being in a relationship. And it's so sweet. It is tooth-rotting sweet. And it's whenever I am having days where I'm like, I can't handle anything, even if I don't actually read this book, I always think about this book. I'm like, it's the perfect book to introduce yourself to new people and new places and like a new story, but like bare minimum emotional involvement, mental involvement, but like there's still a really good payout in terms of like you get this relationship, but you also get you're not just like not thinking at all because you're getting this from so many different perspectives. And so you have to think about that and be like, okay, well, who's talking now and where do they fit into this story and why would the author choose to tell it from this person's perspective in this specific moment sort of thing. So it's not like it's just like mind rotting, so it's not like it's like mind rotting. It's just a little something different. And it's like a breath of fresh air. It's like, you know, when you're maybe like standing outside and it's kind of like muggy and gross, and you're like, ugh, and then you just get like a breeze just for a second. You're like, oh, okay, yeah, it's gonna be okay. Or, you know, like you're really hungry and then you just like smell dinner and you're like, oh, yeah, it'll be okay. That's what this book is, if that makes any sense at all. It's a breath of fresh air. It's the smell of dinner on the table. It is just absolute perfection in terms of the needing a little something different. So that's why I wanted to talk about it, because I feel like it's not that I necessarily have a lot going on. Like nothing crazy is happening. There's no like situations I'm dealing with. I've just felt very just tired. I feel like my bandwidth has been shorter lately, and but I still really want to be consistent with these videos. I'm so like thanking past me for creating my list of videos of books to talk about that already have blogs. So it was really easy for me to just go, okay, here's my list of books I know I want to talk about that already have a blog. Which one do we want to talk about? And so I narrowed it down to 2. One of them was a little deeper that I want to give it a more substantial video because I have lots of thoughts on it and it has meant a lot to me. So I want to give it its own real good deep video. But this one, the video you're getting is exactly the representation of what it is in my life. Just short, simple, sweet, refreshing. A palate cleanser of sorts. So that is why we picked this book. It's why we're talking about it. It's why we recommend it. It's a good book. It's so good and it's so sweet. And I so recommend it because it's uncomplicated, but so satisfying and like so good. I love it. So, I did want to let y'all know, I talked about The Queen's Rising in my last video. And when I was filming, I put myself in the queue, line, whatever, to get the audiobook for both The Queen Rising and The Queen's Resistance. And the line was like forever long. But I finally got The Queen's Rising. The Queen's Resistance, I'm not going to get for another like 4 weeks. But I finally got The Queen's Rising and I re-listened to it in like a day because that's what I do. And it's not that long. Let's see, how long is that? I don't actually remember. Queen's Resistance went from to like borrow now to available soon. So they must offer it to a couple of people and then whoever gets there first. That's lame. Anyways. So it's 13 hours. That's definitely not nothing. Okay, no, it was 2 days because I started it after lunch one day and then listened to it the next day, if I remember correctly. But I re-listened to it and it was pretty much exactly as I remember it. And I literally just had to get to the reveal because the reveal is my favorite part. And I love it so much. And I'm sure I talked about it in my last video, but just re-listening to it just reminded me of just like, I remembered that I loved that book, but it's like, it's so good. And I understand that it's like, yeah, there are definitely plot holes and like storylines that don't totally get worked out, but it's so good. And it's like, the premise is really good. The world building is good enough. The character building is good enough that it's so good. And I love it so much. Highly recommend. If you want to know more about that book, because I obviously didn't tell you anything about it besides the fact that it's awesome, go back to my last video on The Queen's Rising by Rebecca Ross. But I wanted to let y'all know that I listened to it because I had to. And I finally got it. And we're going to get The Queen's Resistance, which I'm also going to re-listen to because that book I think I've only actually read once. It was definitely, from what I remember, it was definitely a lot more difficult. It has some harder storylines in it that are just more difficult to get through. They go through not like real trials, but there's definitely more skin in the game in the second book. And there's some real consequences to these enemies that they're going up against. So it's in the first book where it kind of all just works out pretty perfectly. There's not really any real payout for this thing that they're doing. Anyways, but I listened to it. It's awesome. Go watch that video. And then we're going to listen to The Queen's Resistance. And maybe we'll end up doing a video on that and a blog with it. Because I don't think it has its own blog. I'll have to go double check. But if it doesn't have a blog, maybe we'll end up doing a video on that. Because, I don't know, it's good and interesting. Anyways, so that's all we have to say for today. I'm hoping I've volunteered for some things that are going to be super time consuming. I still have a plan. I still plan to upload every other week like I have been. In theory, you should not notice any difference it'll just be on the back end. My schedule for how I go about doing this is going to change a little bit. But I can do it. I know I can because this matters and I really like doing it. And I want to continue being a constant, consistent uploader. So, with all of that, I hope you have a great rest of your day. I hope you have a great night. Oh my God. I hope you have a great rest of your day. I hope you have a great night, a great week, great weekend, great month, great year. I hope you have all of the greats because you are truly worthy and deserving of them. So until next time. 再见. Bye.